Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again to really unpack the important stories shaping our world.
Good to be here.
You can almost feel in the air, can't you? There's this real energy building across Nigeria looking towards the 2027 elections.
Definitely a buzz.
Sense of anticipation, yeah. Especially around the opposition forces. And, well, there's one particular figure really generating a lot of that discussion, someone right at the forefront.
Yes, quite a prominent name.
So today, we're diving right into the heart of this unfolding political story. The National Opposition Coalition Group, the NOCG. They've now formally adopted the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, as their single unified party for 2027.
A major development, really, unifying the opposition like that.
It is. And a key figure, maybe the key figure driving this charge, someone really central to this repositioned ADC, is Nasir El-Rufai.
Right. Former governor of Kaduna, among other things.
Exactly. And he's being framed, quite deliberately it seems, as a primary challenger to the ruling party, someone positioned to, well, potentially reshape national politics in a big way.
That's the narrative building, certainly.
So our mission today is to properly unpack his profile. We want to understand what makes him tick, what makes him a formidable force within this new ADC structure, and crucially, what his vision might mean for Nigeria's future.
Especially for those listeners really hoping for, significant change.
Precisely. Our main source for this is a really interesting piece from Restore Nigeria News. It came out August 23rd, 2025, and it's titled, Agenda 2027, Meet Nasir El-Rufai, the Face of the ADC Challenge.
A very direct title.
It is. And the article pegs him as a liberal reformist politician. It even calls him, quite strikingly, the privatization czar and reformist advocate of lean, functional governments. So let's get into that.
Okay, well, the first thing that jumps out from the article is just the description of the man himself. He's 65, but it notes his remarkably boyish looks and physical robustness.
Which is quite something, given the, let's say, demanding nature of Nigerian politics over the decades.
Right, and the source goes further, calling him the stormy petrel of Nigerian politics.
Stormy petrel. I like that phrase. It really captures that sense of someone who, isn't afraid to shake things up, to cause a bit of turbulence for change.
Exactly. It implies disruption, but perhaps necessary disruption.
It makes you wonder about the person behind that drive. And the article suggests it's not just political ambition, it's deeply intellectual, too. It calls him educationally restless.
That's a great term for it.
Right.
He started out as a quantity surveyor, got an MBA from Ahmadu Bello University, but that was really just the beginning, wasn't it?
Just the first chapter, yeah.
Because the article then lists this incredible academic journey. Postgraduate studies at Georgetown School of Foreign Service, a law degree from the University of London, a master's in public administration from Harvard's Kennedy School.
Wow. That's quite a collection.
It doesn't stop there. In 2011, he apparently enrolled for a doctorate in governance and policy analysis at the United Nations University in Maastricht.
Okay, so educationally restless seems almost an understatement. This isn't just about collecting degrees, is it? It suggests a certain way of thinking.
I think so. It paints a picture of someone tackling problems from multiple angles. The surveyor's precision, the legal framework, public administration strategy, all focused on how governments actually work, the nuts and bolts.
That breadth of knowledge is definitely a foundation. But the article also digs into his personality, describing him as an archetypal Fulani. It mentions traits like determination, confidence, being highly calculating. How does the article suggest these core attributes play out in his political life, especially in Nigeria's complex environment?
Well, that characterization seems key to understanding his operational style. The article says he can be steely and resolute, when necessary.
Uncompromising.
But, and this is crucial, it also stresses he can be amenable and reconcilable. This part really stood out to me.
How so?
Because it notes he's known for not bearing permanent enmities. In Nigerian politics, where things can get very personal, that suggests a kind of pragmatic focus.
Strategic objectives over personal feelings.
Exactly. The article suggests he's willing to listen to other views, forget past disagreements if it serves a larger strategic goal. That flexibility, combined with what it calls his technocratic nature, valuing efficiency, competence, accountability, makes him a unique kind of political player.
Focused on results, it sounds like.
Very much so. And the article adds another layer. Before politics really took over, he had a successful professional private practice, made him financially well off.
That's a significant point, isn't it? Financial independence.
It really is. It suggests he wasn't entering politics primarily for personal gain, but perhaps from a position of, well, conviction about how things should be run.
A stronger footing, perhaps. And it's from this foundation, intellectual and financial, that he launched his political career proper. The article mentions key roles. Governor of Kaduna State, 2015 to 2023.
And earlier, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, from 2003 to 2007. Those were big, visible roles.
They really established him nationally, didn't they? And cemented that reputation as a liberal reformist.
Absolutely. But the article suggests his influence wasn't just about the official titles. It keeps referring to him as a skillful political strategist.
Right, working behind the scenes, too. It mentions his role in forming the Congress for Progressive Change, the CBC.
And his strategic input in those merger talks between CPC and the ACN, the Action Congress of Nigeria.
Which, of course, led to the formation of the APC coalition back in 2014.
Precisely. And that coalition's victory in 2015 was historic, wasn't it? Unseating an incumbent. That paved the way for his own governorship in Kaduna.
So those strategic skills were critical. The article attributes this success partly to his personality, thoughtful, amenable, and disarmingly stooping to conquer.
That stooping to conquer bit is interesting. It suggests a tactical humility, perhaps. Knowing when to push, when to pull back, when to build consensus skills that are vital in Nigeria's negotiatory political landscape.
Okay, so we have the man, the strategist. Let's talk about his actual blueprint for governance.
Yeah.
This is where his ideology really comes through. The article labels him a die-in-the-wool liberalist.
A strong phrase.
It is. And his vision, according to the source, is about using his education, these Western liberalist governance ideas, and his technocratic skills to create competent, accountable, results-focused government.
We should probably unpack what Western liberalist governance ideas means in this context, according to the article.
Good point. What's the implication there?
Well, it seems to refer less to just democracy in general, and more specifically to things like private sector-led growth, lean government, meritocracy, strong institutions, fiscal discipline.
Less government intervention in the economy, more creating an enabling environment.
Exactly. Which ties directly into him being an apostle of private sector-led economies and a major driver of the desocialization of governance.
Desocialization of governance. Can you explain that term a bit?
Sure. It basically means shifting responsibilities away from direct state control towards the private sector, aiming for, more efficiency and competition. The article says this isn't new for him. It traces back to 1998.
1998. What happened then?
He was appointed economic advisor to Abdulsalam Abubakar, the military head of state at the time. His specific task: working with the World Bank and IMF on the national privatization program.
So this conviction, this policy direction, it goes way back.
Yeah.
It's not just a recent thing for the ADC.
Not at all. It carried right over into the Obasanjo civilian government.
Yeah.
He became the very first Director General of the Bureau of Public Enterprises, the BPE.
Oh, the BPE?
And
Yeah.
Secretary of the National Council of Privatization. He was the one spearheading that massive privatization drive under the PDP government then. The article's Privatization Czar title makes perfect sense in that light.
Okay, so privatization is a huge part of his record. But the article suggests his reform agenda is broader than just that.
Absolutely. It highlights his consistent push for prudence, efficiency. He was in the economic management teams for both Obasanjo PDP and later Buhari APC.
Across party lines, then.
Yes. And always, the article says, arguing against spendthrift wastefulness, pushing for careful use of public money and for governance driven by knowledge and inclusion. That consistency is quite remarkable.
Which brings us right up to the present. The article notes he quickly engaged with other opposition leaders in the NOCG. Why now?
Well, according to the article, it was his perception of the current APC government under President Tinubu. He apparently saw it choosing, and these are the article's words, vainglorious, divisive cronyism and unaccountable, wasteful binge spending.
Strong criticism.
Very. And El-Rufai, the article claims, believes this approach has hurt social cohesion, driven inflation, and made poverty worse.
So this perceived shift by the ruling party seems to be a major catalyst for his current role in the opposition ADC.
That's exactly how the article frames it. His appointment as the ADC leader for the Northwest Zone is presented as hugely significant.
Why the Northwest specifically?
Because the article describes that region as the part of the country most damaged by the current administration's policies. So putting him in charge there is seen as recognition of both his reformist credentials and his strategic political mind. It's a massive challenge.
So his core belief remains. Governance needs to be knowledge-driven, inclusive, accountable, results-oriented. Competence and capacity above all else.
That's the message.
Okay, it's one thing to talk about reforms, but quite another to actually do them.
Yeah.
So you might be asking, did he practice what he preached when he had the chance? Let's look at Kaduna State when he was governor.
Right, the practical application.
The article points out his very first action in office was adopting the Treasury Single Account Policy, the TSA.
Which is a concrete step, right?
Yeah.
Designed specifically to block revenue leakage, cut government waste.
Yeah.
Very direct.
And beyond the TSA.
The article details how he overhauled the state civil service, really pushed for a leaner government. And it gives numbers, which are quite telling.
Numbers, like what?
He cut ministries from 19 down to 13, permanent secretaries from 35 down to 18.
Wow.
And his cabinet was much smaller. Just 13 commissioners, 10 special advisors, 12 special assistants. Compare that to the previous administration, 24 commissioners, 41 special advisors, and something like 400 special assistants.
That is a dramatic difference. It really shows that commitment to lean government wasn't just talk.
It seems like a clear example of him walking the walk, as the article presents it, reducing the cost and sheer size of government significantly.
And this focus, the article says, carries through in his public statements. His interviews always focused on functional governance, development, and the impact of leadership failures. Consistent messaging.
Very much so.
Now, the article also reminds us he's not just a politician. There's this dual identity. Successful quantity surveyor, businessman. His firm, El-Rufai and Partners, founded way back in '82.
Involved in Abuja's early construction, the article notes, from '83 to '98, which apparently made the partners quite rich.
Right, but it's not just about his own firm. The article mentions something else quite interesting on the business front.
Ah, yes, the venture capital firm. He co-founded one based in Abuja.
And the purpose.
It outlaid U.S. $100 million, according to the source, specifically to invest in promoting entrepreneurship and in resuscitating the economy of northern Nigeria.
Okay, that's significant. That sounds like putting your money where your mouth is, tackling poverty and boosting the economy directly, not just through policy.
It certainly demonstrates a practical commitment beyond just political statements, especially focusing on a region he clearly identifies as needing help.
And naturally, with such a long career spanning government, advisory roles, privatization efforts, he must have built quite a network.
Oh, undoubtedly. Presidency advisor, head of BPE, FCT minister, governor. The article basically says he's woven himself into the fabric of Nigeria's power structures, a bona fide member of Nigeria's club of power brokers.
Someone whose calls get answered, whose opinions carry weight.
You have to assume so. His influence is described as extensive.
The article also gives a brief glimpse into his personal life. Married to 3 wives, including the writer Hadiza El-Rufai.
Who runs the Yasmin El-Rufai Foundation, named after their late daughter. A very poignant detail.
Yes. And he has many children, one of whom, Mohammed Bello El-Rufai, is actually in the Federal House of Representatives now.
The article also mentions his devotion to Islam, adherence to moral codes, leading to a more restricted social life focused on traditional events.
Which it notes is fairly typical for Muslim political figures of his generation and standing. It just adds a bit more context to the man himself.
Right.
So let's bring it back to 2027. What are the strategic goals here? The article really stresses that in Nigeria's often blurry political landscape, ideologically speaking.
Which can be very amorphous, as the article puts it.
Exactly. El-Rufai's politics, it argues, stands out as clearly liberalistic and reformist. That clarity is presented as a key strength.
And his core objective, flowing from that, is to drive those reforms, to steer Nigeria's governance towards those ideals. Private sector focus, lean government, efficiency.
So his work now in the NOCG within the ADC, it's all directed towards forming a government that embodies that specific ideology for the country.
That's the clear implication. It's about implementing that vision on a national scale.
And he's not pursuing this alone, is he? The article mentions collaborations within the ADC coalition.
Right. It names people like former VP Atiku Abubakar, former Senate President David Mark, former governors Rotimi Amechi and Ralph Aregbesola.
Quite a mix of prominent figures.
Yes, and the article suggests he's more at home with these kinds of reform-minded leaders, people who understand and are comfortable with his ideological direction. It points towards a shared perspective, perhaps.
A coalition built around a specific reform agenda, potentially.
Potentially. His immediate task, though, as the Northwest ADC leader, is practical. Guide the party, rally support, aim for victory in 2027.
Which is obviously a huge undertaking facing an incumbent.
Of course. But the article deliberately draws that parallel to 2015, remembering his yeoman contributions to forming the APC and achieving that historic win against the odds.
It's a reminder, isn't it, that his steely resolves and political strategizing acumen, as the article puts it, shouldn't be underestimated.
Definitely not. The piece conveys a sense of confidence, optimism on his part, a belief that he can help guide Nigeria towards competence and results-based governance again.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive tell us, especially for you, our listeners, who might be looking for significant change in Nigeria come 2027?
Well, Nasir El-Rufai emerges, based on this article, as a really complex figure defined by capacity, competence, a knowledge-based approach to leadership.
Nigeria's Czar of Reforms, as the article dubbed him. It highlights his pragmatic approach, that blend of technical skill and political maneuvering. His vision is presented as being fundamentally about building a functional, prosperous Nigeria.
Yeah, it's that unique mix, isn't it? The quantity surveyor turned politician. Technical expertise meets political strategy. The article clearly positions him as one of the absolutely pivotal figures who could shape Nigeria after 2027.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over. Given everything we've discussed, his track record as presented, his very clear ideological stance, his proven strategic abilities, how might his leadership within this unified ADC actually reshape Nigeria's governance, its economy, post-2027?
Especially for those of you really yearning for that functional, prosperous nation the article talks about, it's a big question and one that will likely dominate discussions moving forward. Definitely something to think about.